Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Ellie, and my husband Luke and I live in North Idaho on a small homestead property that we're turning into a self-sufficient farm. This is actually our second homestead property. Our first homestead property is a rural location where we're building an off-grid cabin. You might have seen some of those older videos. About almost a year ago now, we purchased our current home that I'm standing on right now, and we moved out there and we've been building it into a self-sufficient homestead. We've made a lot of updates since we've moved out here. One of them being the chicken coop behind me. If you haven't seen the video where we give this a total DIY makeover, go watch that right now. One thing I was realizing though after I posted the video was that I never actually talked about what this cost us, and so I'm going to talk about that now. I'll just get right to it and I'll tell you up front because I hate when YouTube videos do this, but overall the entire cost to redo this chicken coop and get it ready for our chickens was about $300. If you look at the cost of pre-made chicken coops right now, that's a pretty good deal. The most expensive part of the build for us actually was the clear plastic back here. We just had to completely purchase new plastic. I think we went to Home Depot and I want to say we spent about $200 on that. I'm gonna have to go back and check receipts. And that included the clear plastic and the little wooden pieces that you slide underneath so it's kind of a seamless fit. The other thing that we had to purchase for this build was the hardware on the door, and I don't know if you can see it. There you go. The hardware for the handle as well. We totally rebuilt this whole coop, including the door, which leads me to the building materials. So the coop, if you haven't seen the video, like I said, go watch it. The coop was here. It just was kind of falling apart a little bit. It obviously hadn't been used in a really long time, and it wasn't predator proof. Living in North Idaho, we obviously have a lot of predators around here. It's pretty wild at times. So we needed to make sure that this coop was safe for us to put our chickens into and other birds that we have. So you might be wondering if we completely redid the coop and the only thing we spent money on was the plastic and the metal gear for the door. Where did we get the rest of the supplies? So the exterior wood is actually old fencing, and I'm gonna show you, there's still some of it up. So this fence used to surround the entire backyard. I'll put up some clips showing it. We've been slowly tearing it down just because it's just not really what we want. It was kind of rotting in some places too, and we don't really like the look of the fence to begin with. So we salvaged almost all of these panels. Most of them are stacked behind our greenhouse, and we used them not only to make it aesthetically more pleasing, but also to replace the wall. The north end of the chicken coop had metal tin over it, and we just ripped it off because we didn't really need it. In addition to saving the wooden panels, we actually saved all the screws as well. We didn't have to buy screws for the entire project, which was great. So each fence piece had like 2 to 4 screws in it, and 90% of them were salvageable, so we just took them out and threw them in a bucket and reused them. So now I'm standing on the inside of the coop, and our guinea fowl are running around my feet absolutely terrified right now. They don't really like people coming in at all. So I'm standing in the inside of the coop. It's not a huge chicken coop. If I haven't measured it, if I had to guess, it's probably like 4 by 10 maybe. Obviously with a slanted roof. For our purposes, that's great. The broiler chicks will not come in here. This is for the egg layers and the ducks only. Actually, I just thought of 2 things that cost money on this DIY chicken coop remodel that I forgot to mention earlier. So if you kept watching, you're gonna get the actual number, not what I said in the beginning of the video. So one of them was chicken wire. We just bought a single roll of chicken wire that's honestly probably only about this long. It wasn't a super huge roll, it wasn't a ton of money, and we laid that on the bottom of the chicken coop. There is a small strip in the middle that's not covered, but honestly, if something wants to dig like 2 feet in and under and up, they can have the chickens at that point. So we stapled that all the way around, hopefully to deter predators from digging in. And then another thing we purchased was the chicken door. You can't really see it, but I'll show a video of it. And it's an automatic door. We talked about it in the video. Like I said, if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. It'll explain a lot. The roll of chicken wire was probably like $15. And then the electronic automatic coop door was about 40 bucks on Amazon, wherever Luke purchased it. I'll put links to all of this in the description if you want to check them out for yourself. The door is great because it's solar powered, and it can be programmed to, you know, operate on a timer, operate when there's enough light, etc. Everything else in here we just scrounged and built with. So we made DIY nesting boxes out of milk crates, and they work well, I guess I'll have to report back on how the nesting boxes work, but honestly, we were seeing nesting boxes for sale at like North 40 Tractor Supply for like $30 for some really crappy plywood, and we just can't bring ourselves to spend that much money. So we just made these. Like I said, we'll report back on how well they work. So initially our thought was this would be a temporary chicken coop and we would just kind of patch it up a little bit and then we would build a much nicer one later on. But about day 2 into this chicken coop remodel, we realized that's probably never gonna happen. So this most likely will be the permanent chicken coop unless we really expand and get more chickens. I'm feeling pretty at capacity with what we have, so I don't see us getting more chickens. But this is ultimately it. This is great. Got everything we need. It's not fancy, but neither are we. So it works great. So last but not least, we do have our run. So our ultimate goal with our chickens is to let them free range across the property. We have some acreage out here. But while they're still very young and on days where we can't really be around to watch them, we'll put them out in the run. This run was sent to us by Vevor. It's a pretty basic, no frills chicken run that you can set up yourselves. They sell these on Amazon. You can get them direct shipped to your front door. Setup was relatively easy. This particular model, the chicken wire that comes with it is not the full length of each of these like panels. So Luke spent a very long day trying to stitch all the wire together, but he did get it together and it works. I would recommend this for someone kind of like us if you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of money to spend. I want to say these retail for $160, $180. If you are not in a position where you have like scrap lumber or like extra materials lying around, you couldn't build a chicken coop for $180 with materials from like Lowe's or Home Depot. So for what it's worth, it's a pretty good budget option. There is a door to my left over here. With ours, we cut a hole in it so it could attach directly to the chicken coop. And like I said, and you can run like hardware cloth or chicken wire underneath. We didn't, because like I said, ultimately our goal is to let these chicks wander. And when you do that, you kind of take a risk and you expect you're gonna lose some. So we'll find out. I wanna say we probably spent around $350, $360 on this entire renovation, which I still think was a pretty good deal. I wish I could say we did it for free, but we just didn't have material. We're fans of working with what you got and repurposing, reusing things so you don't have to buy more, especially in this economy. So overall, we're pretty happy with it. We'll definitely report back on how it all works, especially as we head, as we get through the summer and go into fall and winter. But for now, I'm happy with it.